when you came into office, your administration immediately reversed a number of Trump border policies. Most significantly, the policy that required illegal immigrants to be detained through deportation, either in the U.S. or in Mexico. And you switched that policy. They were released from custody awaiting trial. So instead, included in those were a large number of single men, adult men, who went on to commit heinous crimes. So, looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath.
Stall.
The first bill that we offered Congress.
She's thinking an answer. She's constructing an answer.
We worked on infrastructure before
this is all
the Inflation Reduction Act, before the Chips and Science Act, before the bipartisan safety.
Dude, she's running out the clock.
You know what she's trying to do, Paul? If you remember in school or college, when they give you a 2,000-word essay, they have to fill. She's just filling.
She needs to go to a bigger font
words.
to fill up the page.
That's it. That's it. And she's buying time. She wants to buy time.
She's going to mention, so there's three bills. She's going to mention Bill, what is it? HR 1177, HR 1177. That was, and Brett Baer names it, the name of the bill is the U.S. Citizenship Act that didn't even get out of the House. Brett's going to talk about it here. The Democrat-controlled House.
Practically within hours of taking the oath was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the... Yes, ma'am.
May I finish?
So he said that. He said it was essentially a pathway to citizenship. Right. Dude, I'm going to read you the first line. This is the first line of the bill. The very first, it's hundreds of pages. The very first sentence on the first page says, this bill establishes a path to citizenship for undocumented individuals. It was an amnesty bill.
You have to let me finish.
You
please.
had the White House and the House and the Senate,
and
they didn't bring up that bill.
I'm in the middle of responding to the point you're raising.
Okay.
And
that's what he means. She had all three houses.
Right.
And even though this was introduced in the House, it never went anywhere in a Democrat-controlled House.
Right.
She can't. Now, it's true. It's true within hours of getting sworn in and taking the oath, their first thing to do was to grant amnesty. That's what the bill does. That's what the bill says. That was the idea behind it.
Yeah.
But like all Democrats, she's going to spin it to say, well, we put a bill out right away within hours. Yeah, the bill sucked.
Right.
And the bill was going to make everyone who's illegal legal.
Yeah, and 6 Democrats didn't sign off on it. So
yeah, Booker and Bernie Sanders. I was surprised to see that.
Wow.
Yeah.
To finish.
Yes, ma'am.
We recognized from day one that, to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people. And our focus has been on fixing a problem. And from day one, then, we have done a number of things, including to address our asylum system and put more resources, getting more judges.
She's going to name all the things that make it easier to process the migrants, to make them legal. Listen if you hear her say anything about building a wall or border security.
We needed to do to tighten up penalties and increase penalties for illegal crossings. What we needed to do to deal with points of entry between border entry points. That's the work we did, and we worked on supporting what was a bipartisan.
Yeah, I hate that.
I
hate that.
Yeah.
Obama used to point like this too.
Yeah, yep. And Clinton. Yep. They used to tuck their thumbs
effort, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, to actually strengthen the border. That border bill would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border, which is why I believe the Border Patrol agents supported the bill.
She's talking about the second bill now, I think, right? She's talking about the Senate bill.
Yes, she's mixing up the whole context of the question here.
But if you look at the first bill was January of 21. That's the one that was an amnesty bill. And the second bill, I think she's talking about now, wasn't brought up until February of this year in the Senate. And that was also an amnesty bill. And I'm going to play Jesse Waters describing it because he describes it better than I can. But the point is, you had a bill in January of 21. Biden was losing by like 40 points when it came to the issue of border security. So in February, 3 years later, they decided to come up with the Senate bill, knowing it wasn't going to pass, bro. Yeah. There's no way that bill would have passed. But you got these idiot Republicans who she says are conservative. Lindsey Graham wanted it. Mitt Romney wanted it. And Langford.
Well, that tells all.
Exactly. So let's hear her blame Trump.
Would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States, which is a scourge affecting people of every background, every geographic location in our country, killing people. It would have allowed us to put more resources into prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, which I have done as the Attorney General, former Attorney General of a border state.
Madam Vice President, a couple of things.
Hold on.
Trafficking of drugs, guns, and human beings. And Donald Trump, but let me just finish.
6 Democrats voted against that bill.
Learned about that bill and told them to kill it because he preferred to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And in this election, this is rightly a discussion that the American people want to have. And what they want are solutions, and they want a president of the United States who's not playing political games with the issue,
I hear you,
but actually is focused on fixing it.
6 Democrats voted against that bill. It would have allowed 1.8 million illegal immigrants into the country a year. A lot of conservatives had a problem with it. These are the 6 Democrats. But more importantly, back to the original premise.
Okay, so this is what it says, bro. The secretary shall activate the Border Emergency Authority if during a period of 7 calendar days, there is an average of 5,000 or more aliens who are encountered each day. And I didn't know what encounters meant, so I looked it up on Homeland Security website. It means someone is given an alien identification number. So it's not a got-away.
Right, so they've come across.
Right, they're caught, they're processed. So once you get, and then in the second item, it says, on any one calendar day, a combined total of 8,500 or more aliens are encountered. So this bill does not stop immigration. It allows 5,000 to come across a day before they even decide to enforce any of the laws. What she's blaming it on Trump, but what normal Republican would vote for that?
Right.
It's disgusting.
It is.
Let me see when I got Jesse Waters coming. Hold on. And here's the other thing that she keeps saying, and I think she says it again later, but you hear it over and over again. This is what drives me crazy about her more than anything when it comes to the border. There's so much that drives me crazy. When it comes to the border, she's the only one on the stage who's prosecuted transnational criminal organizations. Yeah. Okay. She's the only one that went after these people. She's the only prosecutor. She's the one here's the question. If she brings all of this experience to the table, why are border crossings up to 10.5 million under her administration when they were less than 2 million under Trump?
Yeah.
Right? Like if she's an outsider, you could say, okay, she has, let's say it was Biden and he picked Elizabeth Warren, and she was the VP. And now you're listening to Kamala Harris say, listen, unlike these two in office, look at my experience, look at my history, look what I bring to the table. I'm going to do it differently. If it's just like the price gouging, dude, where she says, I am going to go after grocery stores who inflate their prices.
So believe me, as president, I will go after the bad actors. And I will work to pass the first ever federal ban on price gouging on food.
Meanwhile, the margin's only 1% in a grocery store.
Right.
Okay, if you're going to do that, how many corporations have you gone after since you've been in the White House? And why are you mentioning you're going to go after price gouging now where inflation is 3% when 2 years ago inflation was over 9%? You're waiting to do it now? She talks like she's an outsider coming in with all of these new ideas. Meanwhile, she's in the driver's seat.
Yeah, she's been the sitting vice president for 3.5 years, maybe more. And she had, she's trying to distance herself from the Biden policy. You are the Biden policy.
Exactly.
You are the Biden policy. You know what I mean?